Well, hello guys, welcome back to the YouTube and welcome back to the channel and welcome to Fowey, set on the Fowey estuary in southern Cornwall. Located in an area of outstanding natural beauty, this pretty little harbour town is located on the west side of the estuary, where the Fowey River reaches the sea. Yachts tack back and forth across the water whilst gulls cry overhead. As you walk the pretty little narrow streets, where medieval and Georgian buildings cast shadows over each other, a vibrant maritime history comes to life. Small, independent, locally owned shops selling gifts, art, clothing and books vie with cafes and pubs for your attention, while small alleys offer you a glimpse of the river every now and then. Pronounced Fowey to rhyme with joy and designated as an area of outstanding natural beauty, this snug little town hugs the steep west bank of the river, its crooked cobbled streets tumbling down to meet the shimmering waterways. Its location on a natural harbour near the river mouth has contributed to a history that is peppered with battles, sea raids and piracy. At one time, the harbour was one of the most important on the south coast, where ships laden with cargoes of tin and china clay departed for Europe, and battleships set forth, sails billowing, to fight in foreign lands. In 1347, it must have been quite a sight, as 47 ships set sail from Fowey to cross the Channel and take part in the siege of Calais. During the height of its activity as a trading post and military hub, the harbour of this small Cornish town was defended by 160 archers. Pirates too abounded on Fowey's waterways. Stokes' poem Gallants of Fowey talks of the escapades of an infamous band of privateers operating out of Fowey. Historically, the distinction between privateers and pirates is somewhat vague, the actual work of both being the plundering and raiding of ships. The difference being that the privateers were given authorisation for their activities by the government in the form of a letter of marque. The Gallants of Fowey were given licence to seize French ships during the 100 Years' War, 1337 to 1453. But it's easy to imagine how the line between privateering and pirating was often rather blurred. And the poem tells of all sorts of skirmishes the gallants ran into with the Spaniards and Dutch as well as the French. In 1457, French marauders attacked Fowey. A sound as from a cloud of sails came with the flowing tide. A legendary 6-week stand ensued, in which the gallants of Fowey were aided by the redoubtable Lady Elizabeth, Treffery of Place House, defending the town. Place House, home of the Treffery family, since the 13th century is still a landmark in Fowey today. Elizabeth Treffery's courage was immortalised by Henry Saul Stokes in the well-known poem The Lady of the Place. Still calm looked forth the lady from her embattled wall. Her presence was a power, her voice thrilled like a trumpet's call. 3 cheers then for the Fowey gallants, for the lady 3 times 3. And if the French should come again, may our wives as fearless be. The Lady of the Place, Henry Sewell Stokes, 1871. In more recent times, galleons have given way to pleasure boats and people are drawn to the town today to explore the galleries, museums, bougie shops, restaurants and cafes that line its narrow streets. The car ferry to Bodynick and the passenger ferry to Polruin are popular for day trips, and there are plenty of stunning views of the Cornish countryside to reward walkers. It is possible to spend many hours exploring the town and its surrounds, but any visitor here is bound to end up being drawn to watching life on the river. The ever-changing scene of yachts, dinghies, ferries and pleasure boats, and the lively sparkle of the water has proved irresistible for many writers too. And the town has earned a literary reputation as a source of inspiration for well-known authors. Cornish writer Sir Arthur Quiller Couch, who published under the pen name Q, lived here and wrote about the beloved Fowey in many of his novels, giving it the name Troy Town. Q acted as a mentor to the writer who has become Fowey's most famous literary daughter, Daphne du Maurier. The author of Rebecca, Jamaica Inn and The Birds, and her legacy lives on in the Daphne du Maurier Festival of Words and Music, held every May. Kenneth Graham was another author who fell under the spell of Fowey. Graham, who was married in Fowey, inscribed a first edition of The Wind in the Willows to Q's daughter, and there are rumours that Q was the inspiration for the much-loved character of Ratty. Another well-known Cornish writer and poet, John Betjeman, paints a picture of Fowey that could be a scene from The Wind in the Willows. He may have been writing 50 years ago, but the atmosphere he captures still holds true today. Fowey was once a centre of the Cornish china clay industry, but is now a popular yachting destination. There are few in the way of recognised attractions beyond the sheer natural beauty of the region. The most interesting historic attraction in the area is St Catherine's Castle, a Tudor fort built as part of Henry VIII's ambitious scheme of coastal defences against an attack by the French. St Catherine's Castle is reached by a footpath from Ready Money Car Park on the southern fringes of Fowey. The town is built upon the steep west bank of the river estuary, with narrow streets creating a winding maze. In those streets you'll find an enjoyable mix of antique shops, restaurants and old pubs, mixed with ship suppliers and harbour offices, along with a few boat hire places to boot. The title of the oldest house in Fowey is still hotly contested today, the prime contenders being Noah's Ark and the aptly named the Old House of Fowey, which dates back to 1430. The house is a relative newcomer compared to the parish church, dedicated to St Finn Barras, which was begun in 1336. The original name of Fowey, F-O-W-E-Y, was simply Fowey, F-O-Y-E. And as you know, the current name is still pronounced that way, i.e. Fowey, although most people commonly pronounce it incorrectly as Fowey. With its long tradition as a port, it's not surprising that Fowey has associations with famous English seafarers. Both Drake and Raleigh sailed from here, and the town was important enough in the Middle Ages to be subject to attacks by the French and the Spanish in 1380. Fowey is the centre for exploring the towns and villages that seem to hide along the twisting waterways of the Fowey estuary. Across the river lies the picturesque boat-building town of Polruan, accessible by ferry. Further upriver is Loswithiel, an old mining centre, and nearby is Restamel Castle. Fowey is the southern terminus of the Saints' Way, a 26-mile path to Padstow. The trail marks the route followed by 6th century Celtic missionary monks from Brittany on their way to Wales. For a shorter outing, take in the 4-mile haul walk along the banks of the river to Polruan. This walk was the scene of an abortive attempt on the life of Charles II. Another outdoor option is a visit to Porfell Animal Land Wildlife Park, a relaxed family attraction which is home to exotic and familiar animals. If you come by car, do yourself a big favour and park in the main car park, rather than trying to drive into the town centre close to the harbour. The harbour area is a maze of narrow lanes and one-way streets, and there are very few places for cars to park. You can easily find yourself trapped in the one-way system with no option but to drive several miles out of the town before you can turn around again, and I do speak from sad experience. The main car park is well signposted and is just a 5-minute walk to the harbour area. And there is a bus that runs every 15 minutes, the Fowey Town Bus, which drops off at all the main car parks. Your other option is the Ready Money Car Park, also well signposted but located on the southern edge of Fowey, closer to St Catherine's Castle path but further from the town centre. The town boasts an excellent selection of quality shops and art galleries, many exhibiting local works from in and around Cornwall. If you're looking for a refreshment, be it a pint of locally brewed cider or a Cornish cream tea or Cornish fish and chips, a family meal or a gourmet dinner for a special occasion, then Fowey has something for everyone. Fowey is a very special place and has indeed been home to many famous people over the years. I hope you too will be able to come and visit the town yourself someday. It really is up there with places to visit in Cornwall. We hope you enjoyed this video on Fowey and Fowey's history, and once again guys, we'll see you in the next one.